Stephen freaking Curry is going off right now. He's got 9 straight games with 30-plus points. That's every single game in the month of April over 30. He set the record for most threes in a 3-game stretch with 29. He had 53 and 42 back-to-back this week alone. So, Joe, he's kind of playing them back into the conversation for the playoffs. I mean, they were always in this play-in tournament. They're not going to escape that. But I'm wondering now, how are you evaluating their playoff hopes as we head into the final month of the season?
Well, it's actually very hard for me because they should not be this good. With guys like Clay still out, obviously hasn't played all season, and James Wiseman being out for most likely the rest of the season, they are very surprising to me.
Oh, yeah, me as well. Wiseman's officially out.
And, you know, there's only one guy that this success can go back to, and that is Stephen Curry.
Facts.
I do agree. I don't see them making it out of the play-in tournament bubble. You know, I think they're going to be stuck there. But at this rate, for the past few games, I would not be surprised if they get the 8th seed.
I'm starting to believe in them as well. And It's crazy to think about, right? Because obviously I think whoever is 7 between Portland and Dallas is going to make it. Memphis is clinging on to the 8. We saw how Luka Doncic kind of put a knife in their hearts this week. By the way, insane shot.
That's crazy.
Watched it live. I could not believe that went in.
And I was asleep, so.
Fake fan.
It's so late, okay? We got to talk about how these games are so late these days. I hate it.
Anyway.
Yes, keep going.
I genuinely think they can beat the Grizzlies the way they're playing. And yeah, look, the supporting cast is not great. You have to figure that if Steph has to keep carrying this load every night, he's going to burn out. He's already had injury issues this season with his tailbone, and I think he had a knee contusion at one point, if I'm not mistaken. But look, I mean, he's balling out of his mind. He's averaging 30 points a game. He's shooting over 42% from 3, which, by the way, is somehow below his career average, which just is dumbfounding to me. He is playing phenomenal basketball. We talked about the numbers and everything. You drop the 53 piece and then 2 days later drop a 42 piece and don't even play the 4th. You would have set the franchise record for threes if he did. So look, maybe you could argue they're peaking a bit early. Maybe you could argue he's going to burn himself out. But look, Steph Curry has shown the ability to continuously go off before. I think the Memphis Grizzlies are a good team, but they're not going to be able to contain Steph. So I could very well see a scenario where Golden State maybe even plays their way into the 8 because Memphis is slipping a bit and then only needs to rattle off 1 win. Look, if they're playing Memphis having to get 2 wins, that's where things get a bit tricky for me. But if they wind up playing Memphis as an 8, as the 8 and the favored 8, I could genuinely see them making the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
And that kind of segues me. So assuming they do, which is a huge if, by the way, I mean, look, we talked about the supporting cast issues. Draymond Green's playing better basketball, but and Wiggins has been all right. But outside of that, obviously, you've got Wiseman out for the year, which is a huge blow. And he's been out for a while. So, Joe, do you think they could legitimately give the Jazz any trouble? And by trouble, I mean, do you think they could steal more than 1 game off of them?
At the beginning of the day when you sent me the plan, I would have said no. But since the Jazz play today,
and
star player Donovan Mitchell, got an ankle injury, and we don't know what it's going to be, how severe it was. But if it comes back severe, then I'm going to have to say maybe. I'm going to say I wouldn't be surprised if that series went to 7 games and the Warriors came out on top. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, without Donovan Mitchell, I mean,
yeah,
you're going to have serious problems. And I think that it's compounded by the fact that, right, you could say, oh, Rudy Gobert's still there. He's in the middle. He's a big body. But Rudy Gobert isn't a back-to-the-basket post-up scorer. He's a big rebounder. And yes, he'll probably body them on the glass in this series. But he wouldn't have a scenario. They wouldn't have this scenario where they're going to be posting up bigs on the Warriors guys. And that would be a big blow. I think Mitchell obviously also is key to the 3-point kind of arsenal Utah has. Obviously, he's playing out of his mind this season. He's shooting pretty decently. Also, the whole thing about Utah is they've become a very 3-point oriented team. You take Mitchell out of the mix, who adds maybe some more mid-range pop as well and some more drives to the hoop from guards. Their offense becomes a little more predictable for me. Like maybe Mike Conley drives a little bit, but you're not going to have Joe Ingles slicing to the hoop. And that's where things could get a bit messy. Like Royce O'Neal maybe will be driving downhill a bit. But for me, yeah, look, I could see a scenario if Donovan Mitchell is slow to get back into the thick of things. And look, I think he'll be back, or hopefully will be back before the playoffs and be healthy and good to go. But if he's not, yeah, I mean, I could genuinely see them stealing two. If Mitchell plays, I only see Steph being able to carry them to one win. I can't see a scenario where if Donovan Mitchell is playing and healthy and the Utah offense is clicking as well as they are, that the Warriors, who are going to be overly reliant on one guy, are going to be like this super effective against one of the better defenses in the league. So I agree with you. I think beginning today, I would have said unequivocally no. Now the door's open. The door creaks open for me.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, anything more to add on Steph Curry and the Warriors here?
No, like just that, he's a great player still. And I mean, I honestly think this season I think we're seeing he was an underrated player because people didn't think that Steph Curry could lead a team to the playoffs. And it looks like right at this moment, he just might.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, look, I'm a big Steph guy. I also think that his supporting cast is so unequivocally pitiful right now that it's really hard to say, oh,
Steph's basically non-existent.
It's Andrew Wiggins and Wiseman's now out. So it's Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre. And Oubre's decent defensively, but he's been up and down all year. And and Oubre obviously had a terrible start to the year. Draymond Green obviously helps out defensively a bit. He adds, he influences the game in so many ways. But compared to the supporting cast of guys who have led teams to the playoffs with injuries, like, look, I bring up Damian Lillard a lot on this show. He always has had CJ as a primary supporter. And you can say what you will, like, about that. I know that I'm going to credit Dame with a lot of that because without Damian Lillard, that team would be in the dumps. But look, you have Dame, you have Enes Kanter, you have some guys who can contribute. Now you have Nurkic back. Like this, and they give Dame credit, and rightfully, in my opinion. But then with Steph, they liken that to equals, and it's not equal. Steph Curry's supporting cast is unequivocally worse than anything a guy like Dame has had or a guy like Chris Paul had on the Thunder. And that's where we have to kind of have this difference here. Like, you can't be like, oh, Steph's getting exposed because he's not carrying these scrubs to the playoffs. And when in reality, he's got 2, 3, maybe 3 good players any given night that can help him. Whereas you've got a bunch of bit part pieces on a lot of these other teams that, yes, are getting, I'd say, carried by these stars, but aren't. And obviously you've got co-stars on these teams for these guys as well. But it's not like this situation where there's no objective co-star in the mix. Like Chris Paul had, Shea was a huge running mate, and like he was a big time player for them, and they had some good bit part pieces last season. This is a different situation. You can't be like, oh, Steph's getting exposed. This is an awful supporting cast for me.
Oh, hey, if you like watching this video, then watch the last video right here. And if you like the video, then subscribe by clicking this button right here.